legal status. Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Today is April 10th. And shout out to Simon, one of my childhood best friends. Happy birthday to Simon. All right, let's get down to business. There are a ton of immigration problems. We're here to guide you to solve that problem or maybe prevent that problem from happening in your situation for your case. Okay. Hey, what's up, Effie? Nice to see you join. All right. So we're also on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, TikTok, and IG. Oh my goodness. That's a heck of a ton of apps. I just saw something that there's going to be a new app from TikTok as well. So that'd be a bit interesting given what's going on with Congress. So especially the folks who today's Wednesday, so I have office hours with about sponsoring an employee. So if you are whichever situation you're in, you're welcome to drop a comment or a question in the comment section on your respective platform, and I'll do my best to answer them as soon as possible. If you're new here, welcome. I usually go live or answering topic of the day for about 5-10 minutes. Then I'll answer questions. I usually go live 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, folks. So just gonna give you an idea depending on your lunch hour. Okay. So thanks for joining. Now, there's usually 2 or 3 tips I'd like to share regarding employment-based immigration. Now, with H-1B, of course, that just passed that registration window. So some of y'all may have been registered by a company and did not get selected. And you're really concerned about that. Depending on your timing and depending on your current situation, if you have OPT right now or you're about to activate it right after you graduate from university, you should be available for the next registration, okay, next March. Now, before we get there, though, you also have a possibility. USCIS, the last 2 years, I believe, have had a subsequent round for selections, okay? And you might wonder, why would they have another selection when the registration was in March? And this is because some people who were registered before, the company registers that candidate in March, but then after March 31st, they get selected, but then either the company doesn't want to go forward with that person or vice versa. Maybe that candidate no longer wants to be in the US. Maybe they end up getting selected by also another company, which is really good luck, but that happens. So that actually creates a situation where there's unused selections, visa opportunities for H-1B. So that's why I've seen a second round of selection in July. I've also seen it later in the year as well. So stay tuned about that, especially if you're depending on the H-1B visa. All right. Now, the second tip related to employment-based. Now, stay tuned. If you're not interested in employment-based, we're going to answer your questions as well. But the second tip is about the job description. So if you're joining in, especially from LinkedIn, and you are in HR or you have your entrepreneur, you're starting your own company, and you are interested to sponsor a foreign national, an immigrant who does not have legal status in the United States in terms of residency, green card, or a U.S. citizen. And you think on paper, they're great talent, great work experience, and even, face-to-face or, good vibes, I guess you call it, really, and you want to sponsor that person, okay? It's going to be awkward if you extend an offer and then it either is too high higher than a prevailing wage, or it's lower than a prevailing wage, okay? So it's even more reason to talk to an immigration attorney first before you extend an offer. Now, of course, I highly recommend not intending to send an offer like 1 or 2 days later. So you need to give your attorney some time. So it's really better, like, if you have a multi-step interview process. I know a lot of people don't like that, but it really makes sense for both sides to have more than one interview with a company, because you want to make on employee side, you want to make sure that they're the right company you want to work with. But on employer side, especially with immigration, you want to get your immigration attorney involved earlier, sooner the better. Of course, not with every single candidate to check what the prevailing wage would be. But look, if you're applying, if you have a job posting for a specific job occupation, you don't need to get prevailing wage every single time. You can get an estimate from your immigration attorney. So we can help you do that, of course, but give them a little bit more lead time, around a week. Okay. Now, I did mention job description earlier, so that's really tip number three. But stay tuned again. If you have questions about family based or something else, stay tuned. I'm on LinkedIn, so that's why I talk about on Wednesday about the top three tips of the week. Okay, about employment based. So tip number three. Okay, if you're HR, if you're entrepreneur, you have your own company, or you're a decision maker in in the company, you need to understand that the job description makes is very pivotal. It's important part of the process. And it's at the very first step, essentially. That's part of our onboard process. Okay. And unfortunately, the job description that you're normally accustomed to needs to be, needs to, I don't want to call it reduced, but it has to have minimum qualifications, not your preferred qualifications, right? I remember going to school, university, law school, and I was thinking, man, all these jobs say you need experience, which makes sense. But if you're hiring for level one versus like level two, level three, more senior position, there needs to be a difference, right? So because essentially, the more experience you show that you want in a job posting, the more you're gonna have to pay. Okay. So, anyways, employers don't realize that until they talk to us. Okay. And it's not too late. It's just more like saving y'all some time. All right. All right. Does anyone have questions on LinkedIn as well? If you do, then I'll answer them. Okay. Well, that's the top three tips. All right. For employment base for now, for this week. And if anyone's on LinkedIn and want to catch us later, that's the best way to get contact us, or go to greencardguys.com for more information and download that free guide. All right, I'm going to hop off LinkedIn right now. All right, let's see if that works. Okay, great. So I can answer y'all's questions. Welcome to the show. Again, welcome. If you're new here, my name is John Ting. I practice immigration law here in the United States, and trying to see if we can point you in the right direction, save you some stress. Okay, Effie on TikTok. Good morning to you. You got RFE. Wow, that was fast. I think you just filed like last month. So that's great. You got RFE. Even if your sponsor has enough income, what should you do? Okay, so this is a great question. A very unfortunate situation. There are times that USCIS officer, whether they're rookies or seasoned officers with USCIS, they will send an RFE, request for evidence, for something that, like this, like your spouse, your sponsor is qualified, has sufficient income, and even when we've used the form 864EZ because they're qualified to use it, USCIS will send an RFE to us. Very not lately, fortunately, not in a few years actually, but I've heard about this. They've continued to do this for some people. 864EZ, they would still get an RFE and say, well, your sponsor is not qualified to use this. Use the 864. It's like, oh my god, it's like what's wrong with these people? What's wrong with these officers? So yeah, it's clear as day usually, right? We get that question quite often, unfortunately, and so I would just create a cover letter, write a cover letter to explain the situation about the income. Maybe if you didn't have a letter from an employer before, or your sponsor's employer, this would be a good time to provide one, just a little bit extra evidence just in case. All right. But that's what we would do. We make it very clear that the sponsor qualifies, has, well, not just qualified, but has a minimum, exceeds the minimum poverty guidelines to sponsor you as a beneficiary. Thanks for joining. Thanks for sharing the show. Again, my name is John Ting, and we have a physical office in Houston. I know. Yeah, some people on the attorneys here on live shows, they don't have a physical office, but we do. So come on down. We're in Houston, Texas. Some people ask, so I figured I'd just share that. Diamond, Diamond ask on TikTok, what about F1 students after OPT? Well, I can't provide hypotheticals on that right now. It really, of course, depends on your situation. But to some extent, you really probably should talk to an immigration attorney before, probably at least 3 months before your OPT expires, right? Because because some people have called us, contact us right when their OPT is about to expire, and just the timing does not work out in terms of try and go to H1B. There's no overlap in that timing for some people. Just depends maybe when you graduate or when your OPT expires. So, but yeah, we're considering to have a webinar to cover these kind of scenarios. I actually got that request from someone yesterday as well. So Diamond or anyone else in a similar situation or in the future, go ahead and DM us and mention post OPT or something topic in webinar. And please send us your name and email. We'll send you an email invitation. Alrighty. Hey, Laura. Wow, that's amazing. Laura on TikTok said that she got her EAD approved the day of the biometrics. Thanks for sharing your experience. And your biometrics were 5 days after you got the receipt notice. If I could give you like a high five right there, that's awesome. Yeah, that is amazing. That is amazing, especially because USCIS subcontracts out the handling of the biometrics. So, all righty. Well, hopefully that's a sign that you can get your work permit sooner then, right? All right, let me switch over to IG. Okay, y'all are shy on Instagram. And I know there's a question on YouTube, Maria. All right, Maria is a DACA recipient. You already did the advanced parole. Can you apply for AOS if your boss sponsors you? No, unfortunately. Okay, I'm glad you got advanced parole. Sounds like you may have traveled already. Okay, and came back. But here's a key difference. This is a great question. All the questions are great. But this is a key difference between a company sponsoring versus a spouse, U.S. citizen spouse sponsoring. You may have heard people say, like, why don't you get married to a U.S. citizen? Well, and they kind of like joke around, whatnot. Well, they probably don't know the reason why, but they just know it's faster in general or easier. But here's the legal reason why it's a key difference, or getting married to a U.S. citizen is preferred, I guess, in terms of timing and legal requirement. And that is because if you marry to a U.S. citizen spouse and that person sponsors you, okay, it waives unlawful presence. Of course, this is assuming you entered with a visa to begin with, a non-immigrant visa. Now, whereas if your company sponsors you and you file the 485 application, it still requires that you show proof that you maintain status. Now, some people might think, oh, well, DACA, isn't that maintaining status? DACA and TPS are not technically status. If anything, internally in our office, we call it like quasi, but it's not lawful status. And they made that very clear when DACA was started. So even though DACA and TPS and even filing for asylum stops the counting of unlawful presence, it's a different legal concept than maintaining lawful status. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. If anyone has questions about that, I'll again also create a webinar invitation for that. I'll ask my marketing team because it is a pretty complex situation, and we would just would be unfortunate if you or the company were depending on being able to sponsor, or you get sponsored through a company and it just didn't work out. That'd be a lot of wasted time and effort. Well, but here's the other thing. Here's another caveat for y'all. Okay. And that is, if you have a qualifying relative, a parent or spouse who is a resident or a citizen, then you can consular process. But of course, before you consular process, meaning the visa interview abroad outside America, you need to apply for an unlawful presence waiver, the 601A. Now, just sharing that, but if you have a spouse, U.S. citizen, it doesn't make sense to get a company to sponsor you. But I know some people have asked. So anyway, I just want to share that the possible solutions for that scenario. Okay, Maria. Alrighty. Majel Wilson on TikTok. Do I think a previous overstay on a B1 B or B2 visa would disqualify a non-immigrant visa application? Um, so you have to, if you're, it kind of depends on where you're at. So if you're outside America right now, you would need to apply for, I believe it's the I-193, the waiver for non-immigrant. Um, basically the non-immigrant waiver. Okay, let me just double check that. Of course, I believe it was on the I-193. hmm Yeah, I think that's it. I-193, or very similar to that. It's a waiver for non-immigrant visa. Okay. So yeah, it will extend the process for you, but it is possible. I think I'm getting the form number wrong on that one right now. Okay, I-192. I was one digit off. I-192. So I apologize about that. Okay, well, there's a different scenario in terms of like if you're in the United States and you had a prior overstay, but now you enter the US with maybe the same visa and you're able to come back in, and now you're getting sponsored by, let's say, a US citizen spouse, then you're good to go. The law is clear that you're good to go. You're eligible. I don't know. It seems strange because you may have overstayed before and you may have unlawful presence. But if you entered with a visa on your most recent entry, you're good to go on that. I know it's strange, but if you're watching this like 2 or 3 years later, the law can change. So there's a disclaimer that I have to share with everyone because I'm barred. I have a license with the state of Texas. I'm sure every state requires this. I have to tell you, if you want one-on-one, if you want legal advice to your specific situation, it is best that you schedule a meeting and speak to an attorney one-on-one. Okay? All right. Let's see here. Question from Shalindra on YouTube. Your position as food service supervisor, LMIA. I'm not sure what that means. They approved your work permit. You applied from outside Canada. Medical uploaded 2 weeks ago. Okay, great. Do I think decision will be delayed due to current changes? I'm not sure what changes you're referring to. Can you specify? Can you share that with us? Shalindra on YouTube. And by the way, if you all ever wonder if like our law firm, which is Ting Law Group, can accept a certain case or not, has a certain experience, I take no offense. I used to be concerned, like, how come someone doesn't think like I have this experience? I totally get it. That's why I grow up my hair, so I look older, which I am older. But you know, the it's very important that you do ask those kind of questions. If like whichever lawyer you talk to, like, do you have experience in this? Because some lawyers will actually accept the case that they don't know what to do, which which happens because especially if they're newer to the practice of law, they hopefully will tell you they don't have that experience. But we will be upfront with you. We will be transparent. All right. So, and We even get requests like, "Oh, how do I find you on the Texas Bar website?" We're happy to share that with you. I take no offense. It's very important that you know that I have a license, that my associate attorneys have a license to practice law, which is obviously the critical difference than paying someone in your community, in your neighborhood, depending your auntie or uncle or notary. Yeah, notaries are not attorneys. I think y'all know that, or I hope so. Puma 1313 on TikTok. Does it make a difference if you got caught with a fake visa at the age of 16 years old in 1999? So that's definitely a scenario you need to speak to an attorney one-on-one about that. I wouldn't share more info than that on a public forum. Um, Fortunately, on TikTok, it goes away. I think I don't think it saves it. So let me unpin that, Puma. Okay, but essentially, yeah, the laws are dependent on your age. Um, there's something about those kind of scenarios about. So when we look at it for if someone had used a fake visa, we look at it with about misrepresentation, right? The fraud or misrepresentation waiver. The first thing we would try to argue, if possible, is that it was not intentional. Okay, that would probably be difficult to argue, but you were 16 years old at that time. Maybe who knows? Maybe one of your parents advised you to use it, and you just didn't pay attention. Maybe it had your name on it, and you didn't know how it was obtained. Right? 16 years old, like I wouldn't I'm not the one. If I were 16, I'm not the one applying for the visa. So, anyway, not to give out too much information, but in terms of that, because your situation could be completely different. So this is a clear example that most of y'all scenarios you need to talk to a lawyer one-on-one. We're happy to offer that a strategy session. I'm happy to share a bit information so you know that we have that experience, of course. But ultimately, if you want a meeting with one of our attorneys, we highly recommend whichever platform you're on, go to the profile page. Under somewhere in the profile page at the top, most likely, is that a link. Okay, you click on that link, answer a few questions on the form to get pre-qualified for a strategy session. Now, the first meeting is not with one of our attorneys, okay? It's with our CARES team specialists. All of our team members are highly trained literally every day by me. So they understand the terminology, but they're not there to give you legal advice, okay? That's what our attorneys are for. Okay, so keep that in mind. You're welcome to ask them the questions, and they'll take the time to type it in our system, so that will save time for you because there are some times where our attorneys will look at it and say, sorry, we're not qualified. So we won't waste your time, right? We'll just let you know as soon as possible. Alrighty. Thanks for sharing y'all's experience with each other. All right. I know I tend to do this on TikTok. It scrolls it all the way down. So I got to scroll back up, down, the opposite way. Hat Dog or Hat Dog on TikTok, can J1 visa extend? It will be largely dependent on, it's possible, but largely dependent on if you have a 2-year restriction on that. That may require you to go back in the meantime. Sachin on TikTok, illegal entry, but asylum is dismissed. I guess you mean that was like dismissed from court, meaning not, it was denied? Is that what you mean? I-130 approved. Okay, great. Do you need to file 45? I would need to know more information, Sachin. You mentioned illegal entry, but maybe your facts mean that you could be qualified for an exception. And if you do qualify for an exception, which is very limited scenarios, then you could file the 485. But generally, most people don't have an exception. I'm not going to run through all of them right now. I'll probably record a video on that. But one of them is like, if is it is asylum, right? But you just got denied. It sounds like. Number two, VAWA. But if you're filing a 485 based on the I-130, then it's not going to be VAWA. Then VAWA is, if anyone is not familiar, is if you've been a victim of abuse, which can be physical and non-physical abuse, then you could be eligible to file 485, even if you enter the United States without a visa. So, Sachin, if you don't mind, go ahead and schedule a meeting with our CARES team specialists, and they'll chat with you. They'll provide those options, possibly. All right, I'm trying to scroll and answer. Don't mean to skip around, but I do want to answer or respond to this interesting comment. I guess I'll just call it interesting. Someone had said, this person finds it funny that all you attorneys for illegals are coming out of the woodwork. You're slime, or typed in you're slim, but I think you mean you're slime. Well, so a lot of people, I won't call it disrespectful, but I'll ban you. Okay, I'll block you. But I want to answer this for a lot of people. A lot of people who are, say, the conservative, let's just call them conservatives, they say, like, I'm all for legal immigration. Well, what does that mean to you? Because helping someone who's undocumented overstay their visa, you could argue they have violated their immigration laws, right? So they're legal, right? You can call it that, but there's legal pathways to help someone get legal status even when they overstay their visa or they enter the United States illegally. So to each your own, buddy. I think people don't understand that concept, but hopefully that helps. So with that being said, that's legal immigration. Would that be helpful for you? Now I can't even find your comment to ban you, but whatever. Welcome to the show. Okay, next question. Well, to an actual question. What's up? How y'all doing? I know I'm just talking to a screen, really, but okay. Giselle, I think is maybe how you pronounce your name. I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name. You're a U visa derivative, now 25 years old. Are you still able to adjust status after you get approved? Generally, yes, but we need to know more information, of course. Are you in the United States or are you outside? When someone says adjust status, that means in the United States. So we'd love to know more information. Okay, hopefully I'm still on and connected here. Says unstable. All right. Yeah, Effie, I see your comment. Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. Glad you responded to the RFE. When do you get your green card after approved? Generally speaking, it's about like if you get the 485 approved, then generally 3 weeks average. Okay. If you're abroad and you pay the $220 fee, I was about to say fine, but $220 fee on the ELIS webpage, I would say roughly a month. Okay, so fairly similar. Hey, royalty on TikTok. Your status refugee, but you're married to a American citizen. Um, well, I mean, after you're refugee for a year, you can apply to become for residency. But maybe your definition of refugee is different. Like, do you actually have refugee status? If you don't, then you may want to consider asking your spouse to sponsor you. So it's good. Some people have a couple options. Alrighty. How y'all doing today? Thanks for tuning in. All right. Diana on TikTok. Okay. How long does it take to get EAD under U visa? Unfortunately, it's been taking a good amount of people, average 12 months. There are some people that has been more than 12 months, and that's when we file a lawsuit because it should not take that long. All right. So contact us if you need help with that. I think Miss Hernandez on TikTok. Can you sponsor your husband if he was deported voluntarily and then came back? Ooh, you're a citizen. Well, a citizen being good, great. But if your husband came back too early, because it's generally a bar for 10 years, um, and it may for an order of removal, but it may depend what you mean by deported voluntarily. Was that through the court or was that at the border? I have, I'm inclining that assuming that it could be through the court. And so that's worse in this sense. Okay. So if your husband came back a bit too early and assuming it was without a visa, then that's trouble. That's bad news bears. Okay. But Mr. Hernandez, if you want to know more information, welcome to schedule a session with us and our team will pre-qualify you. Okay. But those are probably one of the scenarios that would be a paid consultation. Okay. But we just need more information though. Um, vibes, vibes on TikTok. All right. So you see that it's taking longer than expected. Maybe that's what it says on your My USCIS account. You're trying to figure out what it means. All right, folks. I'm gonna just cut to the chase for y'all on any of the status updates or activity updates on your My USCIS account. It's a bunch of BS. Okay, because one of the other statuses to say your case is being actively reviewed. What does that mean? What does it mean? Come on. Tell me, y'all. Tell me. Comment down below if you've seen that multiple times and you've checked every month. I'm sure you check like every week. Not that you have to do that. Not with us, because we check for you every month as a courtesy. Many law firms do not do that. In fact, probably 99.9% law firms don't do that. But we actually care about you. We care about your status, helping you get your legal status. So, um, yeah, so we noticed that. We've called the hotline anytime you need to call for on behalf of a client. We always at the end always ask the I guess you can call customer service tier one representative and say, hey, what's up with this like account status? Does it mean anything? Is it accurate? And all of them are like, it's a bunch of baloney, right? They feel bad because they honestly don't want to answer your questions about that because it takes them so much time. And then, and both everyone's unhappy about it because it's not accurate. It makes no sense why they even mention that kind of information. And if they do, they should have some kind of freaking legend, right? It's like back to school. Like, what does it actually mean? Probably nothing. All right, let me see here. Hey, what's up, Cesar on YouTube? If you were sponsored for AOS, can you later sponsor a relative yourself? Yeah, you can sponsor like your child if you have like your or a stepchild, which I guess it wouldn't make sense stepchild in your situation, Cesar, but um, you can't sponsor your parent. Okay, and let me see if I can pull up the visa bulletin for you and share my screen. I can do that on YouTube and Facebook. All right, let's see here. Who can you sponsor as a resident? I like that you're thinking ahead there, buddy. All right, that's good. Good, good. Um, okay, so Cesar asks, who else can you sponsor as a resident? So let's just go ahead and click the May 2024 bulletin. That's a great topic. I'll probably do a webinar about that too. I mean, I mentioned that like 3 times today at least. Okay, so here's a family sponsored preference. This F1 is for U.S. citizen. F2 is for if you have an unmarried son or daughter, and you can sponsor them as a resident, which I don't think that would make sense for you. And I'm assuming, Cesar, in your situation, you're being sponsored by a spouse. And then the next two are based on sponsors who are U.S. citizens. So as a resident, Yeah, you can only sponsor children. Okay, like actually under 21. And now, oh, you're referring. Okay, maybe I answered the wrong question. You're referring. Says I was referring to the affidavit of support. Um, it depends on the scenario. So it has to come through lawful means, of course. So that'd be something you need to. That's a really in-depth question. So I think what you mean is because maybe your spouse, or whoever your sponsor is, does not their income does not exceed the minimum poverty guidelines. Is that what you're talking about? Okay, well, stay tuned for that. That's another webinar topic. I need to write this stuff down. Let me write that down with my marketing team here. Okay, let's see. Just mentioned to my team member, and she's probably like, "What the heck is John talking about?" I'm just mentioning random things here. Okay, so let's see. Back to TikTok. Mm-mm-mm. I show you shadow on TikTok. Is it normal for 45 family based to be under review for 28 months since it was received? Oh my God. Well, again, under review is one of those like, well, first, how long has it been under review for you? I'm sure not actually 28 months, but yeah, it's one of those things because I it's not and none of these statuses give us an indication to say, oh, okay, this status, so that means this next step is going to happen in 3 weeks' time, or even if it means 3 months' time from now. It's not accurate, unfortunately. It's really ridiculous. So, but 28 months on your 485, is your sponsor a resident or are you a citizen? If a resident, then we need to talk about if you have maintained your status in the United States, non-immigrant visa. But if your sponsor is a spouse is a citizen, then we need to sue the government. Okay, we need to sue USCIS on that because it should not take 28 months. Okay, I found that dude that had that ridiculous comment earlier, so I just blocked him. We don't got time for that BS. Someone named something Venom on TikTok. Can photos be enough for requests for evidence? Well, it depends what they're asking. If they're asking you for more bona fide marriage evidence, meaning like bona fide meaning that your marriage has been entered into in good faith for not getting a green card for immigration status, which I know it doesn't seem to make sense, but they're basically trying to say, look, it's cool that you got married, but they're only going to review or approve those who did not marry only for immigration purposes. Okay. Um, which of course you guys are not applying because of or got married because of immigration status. Wink, wink. So, anyways, can photos be enough for requests for evidence? No, photos are not going to be enough. Okay. You need to have a joint bank account. I know a lot of y'all don't want to do that. It is possible to get approved with that joint bank account, but of course, if you have not filed already and possibly for so and so Venom, it could be too late in that sense. But depends on your timing. Depends when your RFE is due. If it's due in 87 days, which is normal, then you have some time. You go to bank ASAP, and you and your spouse need to go together. Okay. But yeah, photos are not going to be enough. And the thing is, the deal is because officers, even if your photo may look legit and you all went somewhere, traveled together, even if it was a local adventure park, I don't know where y'all want to do like a photo outside a movie theater. I don't know, whatever's floats your boat. But yeah, it flows. Photos are not going to be enough, really, because they're great as a starting point, as something. But us, we have clients give us like 30 photos, a whole album. But our internal rule is 10 photos. Because look, USCIS is not focused on the photos. K for life on TikTok. You have a 10-year GC. Congratulations. Can you stay out of the country for 6 months each year for school outside US? Is that what you mean by SCH? So yes, but you need to apply for a re-entry permit. That is on the form 131. That is absolutely necessary because if you're outside US for more than 6 months, even if especially if it's at one time in one trip, okay, then when you get back to the airport in the United States, customs officer, you might get lucky, it might not ask you, but customs officer, they're supposed to be trained to not let you in. Some people get lucky again, but you don't want to risk that. So you need, before you leave for school or abroad, you need to apply for the reentry permit, okay? And also there's biometrics for that to take your fingerprints. So it's not just that you can apply and then leave right after that. Thanks for the follow, folks. Really appreciate it. Let's see here. Okay, Junior on TikTok. Do I think it's time to apply for advanced parole for your spouse? Well, I don't know. What's been holding you up? What was holding you up before? What's the difference between now and like a couple months ago? But in general, we recommend applying for advanced parole, even though now after April 1st, USCIS does require a separate fee for that. Is really because after you apply, right? Let's say we file for someone January 1st this year, and then yeah, it's now April, 4 months pass by, and then bam, something unfortunate happened with their own parents and or one of the parents and ill, or even it's like a relative, right? Or a friend, and they're ill, and they live outside America, or or even if someone's getting married and their trip is going to be outside America. There's a lot of possible scenarios. So that's why if it's family based, you actually don't have to give a specific reason. We just put tourism, okay? And we just put a couple countries on that applications. But for other situations, for AP through DACA, it must be specific, okay? Based on the instructions, okay? Based on the instructions for DACA. Now, if it's based on family, C9 for family based, then you're good to go on that. And so it's worth paying for it because let's say you did file your case back in January 2024, but without the advanced parole form, the travel document form 131, you can't call USS, hey, I filed my case back in January. Can I just file this thing right now? And then, can you just do me a favor and approve it now? Because I got this situation. No. I mean, you could try to ask for expedite request, but not everyone's expedite request is going to, or reason is going to qualify for expedite request, which 131, 765, uh, and even the I-130 can qualify for the expedite request. But saying that you're pregnant, no like pregnancy problems, which hopefully no one does. But if you're pregnant, unfortunately, that alone is not sufficient for expedite request. And also, if you have to go to a wedding abroad, that is not going to qualify for expedite request. Okay, I mean, some of y'all are going to be frustrated. I get it, but you have to think about it on the government perspective. Because if everyone had a wedding, they had to go abroad or just travel in general, then they would be granting expedite request to everyone, right? This expedite request process was created because of the pandemic, and I'm really surprised that they have this still. We're 4 years from the pandemic. Is that right? Is it the right amount of years? Hey, what's up, Enter 10 TV? Good to see you. Let's see. Shady Jays on TikTok. Can you come to the U.S. on a tourist visa and do an adjustment of status? I think you mean. Yes, if your sponsor is a U.S. citizen, assuming you're not the parent, but any immediate relative classification, relationships under that classification qualify for that. Okay, where it would waive the unlawful or overstay. I mean, Glad Gladys, did I? Oops. Gladys on TikTok. Can a person be granted pardon or legal status if they've been? I don't think you mean pardon, but maybe like a waiver, I guess. If they've been granted legal status or if they've been in the U.S. on a work permit for 15 years on a work permit, that'd be impressive. But I would need to know more information, Gladys or Gladys. I've been mispronouncing a lot of people's names. I apologize. But if you don't mind, especially for folks I'm not able to answer as in depth as I would prefer, please go ahead and go to our profile page, click on the link. It's typically, I mean, there's I think only one link, and it's probably the first little widget there, I guess they call it. Click on that one. It'll probably say pre-qualify for a strategy session, which your first meeting video session, we recommend to be on a computer, first of all, not your phone. So you can see everything we're trying to share with you. But also, it's not with an attorney. It's with one of our CARES team specialists. They are trained every day. Okay. They don't answer legal questions. They can give you some guidance, but they cannot give you legal advice because I know some of y'all are in a hurry to make sure. What we're trying to do is make sure that we have we have a lot of experience, right? But some of y'all might be asking, like, contact us, say, hey, do you help with asylum? That's part of our pre-qualified situation because we don't accept asylum cases anymore. Okay. All right, so we have referrals for that, or EB5, we have referrals for that as well. We really focus and dial in on certain situations, case types, certain problems to help you avoid those problems, okay, or maybe solve them. Uh, Jasmine, you submitted your green card application 45. Congrats on filing that. Hopefully that was before April 1st. Do you need a 2023 tax record? Okay, well, I'm assuming you filed it after or yeah, before the tax day was due. So eventually, probably you need a 23 tax. But sometimes USCIS, like if you're looking to trying to get that waiver interview waived, sometimes they don't ask for 2023 taxes. It uh, just depends on the timing of when you filed your application. All right, hopefully that helps. All right, how y'all doing? There's a lot of questions here. Great, thank you for asking. Claudia on TikTok by air. Sorry, I'm just looking on all these platforms to make sure I'm answering questions. Okay, by error, you marked U.S. citizen on the 485, but your husband is the resident. Okay, so not for yourself. That's good. Should you fix it with amendment to USCIS? Yes. And in fact, this will be interesting. Because I wonder, I would think if I were USCIS, it takes it on a different track. So it's good that you mentioned this, Claudia. Hopefully you're still on, because if your husband was truly a citizen, it's going to be fast tracked, right? In a sense, because it's called immediate relative. But technically, your husband is a resident, so it's a family preference case. And so I don't know. Do you have an attorney? But typically, we recommend to not file the 45 unless you have non-immigrant status right now. And if you do, I hope so. I hope you do. Otherwise, you may have wasted those fees. So, welcome to chat with us. Okay, schedule a time with one of our team members, and we'll get you. We'll answer it more thoroughly for you once we have more information. Alrighty. Okay, Robert Brown on YouTube. How do you get a Nigerian fiance to the US ASAP? She happens to have the same last name as you do on one of her Nigerian IDs, but not on her passport. So she has a different last name in general. Is she flying into Mexico your only option? I don't know that detail, but in terms of the passport, I mean, we've had a couple of people ask us, I think, a similar question. But why is it that she happens to have a same last name? Like, did she get married with you um, in Nigeria, or because I think in Nigeria, there's a lot of different ways to get married, like customary marriage through and not through the court necessarily, like in America. Um, Sorry, I don't think I can answer your question. I need more information there. Let's see here. Hey, thanks for the follow, folks. Appreciate it. So if you appreciate the way we share information, really just try to get straight to the point here with y'all if possible. There are some scenarios where you do need to definitely schedule a meeting with us. Um, but if possible, do a little, what do you call that? Tap the screen, hearts, likes, something like that. And follow and share if you don't mind. That really helps our channel grow and give me a little boost of confidence to keep doing this Monday through Friday. This is like a full-time job just by itself. All right. Vanessa asked on TikTok, will wait times decrease now that the price increased? Unfortunately, no. That's not how it works. I wish that were the case. I wish it was correlated, but it's not. I don't believe USCIS promised that at all. They did add more scenarios where they do allow premium processing for certain applications, but not for family-based, unfortunately. I feel like some of y'all would be willing to pay premium processing, like if you get a decision in less than 30 days or something, it was family-based. But I think one of the premium processing for employment base is 2805, so almost 3000. Here's the deal, folks. Like, I mean, I can understand why USCIS increased the fees. It's been since 2016, so it was due. It was overdue. It was bound to happen eventually. Congress authorized USCIS to look at their fees every 2 years. They gave them that authority. But look, there's going to be continued delays. I hope no one has to go through a delay, but there will be times that if you have a delay, you know, I know you're trying to save money, you file on your own, but you might get denied. You might have a delay. You might get an RFE. And definitely, if you get an NOID, Notice of Intent to Deny, you really should contact an attorney because some people have contacted us, end up authorizing us to help them, signing up with us. We looked at the facts. We're like, boy, I really wish TikTok was available, back then, or I went live show back then because, man, some people waited 5 years and they did not need to wait that long. And so, it's a mentality, mindset thing. A lot of us think like, it's like when friends owe you money. It's a very sensitive topic, especially friends or family owe you money. It's like, yeah, yeah, don't worry about that. Especially when you have the conversation with your spouse, and one of you is like, hey, man, we need to ask them for the money, and then don't worry, this is related to immigration. Whereas the other spouse or you is like, no, it's okay. They'll pay tomorrow. We've talked about it, but really, when you talked about it, that was like 6 months ago plus, right? So I can see both sides. You don't want to ruffle any feathers, right? But with immigration, you ruffle the freaking cage. You shake the cage. You sue them because a lot of y'all delayed way too long. Okay. And look, we have a strategy session. We will provide you the action plan if you qualify to sue now. We're not always going to say sue, sue, sue. Okay. It depends on your facts. If you just filed your case like 2 months ago, we're not going to sue. Okay. That wouldn't make sense. You're not going to be happy with us. We wouldn't be happy with the process because U.S. attorney would say that doesn't make sense. Why'd you file too soon? So it really depends on your scenario. But most likely, if you're thinking that your case is delayed, it is most likely actually delayed in a lawsuit perspective. Okay. So don't be shy. DM us, contact us if you have that scenario. Okay. Um, some of y'all have some questions that's more like, webinar topic ish versus like answering quickly here. So if you think you do, or honestly, if you have any question, just DM us, schedule a meeting, and we're happy to chat with you. Okay. We know it's very difficult to find a lawyer that you trust, so we understand it takes time. We're happy to share more information with you, especially if you're interested in allowing us to help you. Okay. It's our mission to help you live and work in America legally, unlike what others conservative people think. So, on that note, wish you all a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Peace. Follow for more.